The ship was falling apart, could feel it in his bones. Every warning light on the control panel was red. Every alarm was screaming. The wormhole had spit him out into unknown space, and now his small cargo ship was dying. "Come on," he whispered to the machine, "just a little more." He had been a simple mechanic on Earth. He fixed engines. He repaired broken parts. He was nobody special. But 3 months ago he had taken a job on a deep space cargo ship. It was supposed to be easy money. Travel to Mars colony, deliver supplies, come back home. Simple. But the wormhole had other plans. Something had gone wrong during the jump. The calculations were off. Instead of arriving near Mars, found himself thrown across the galaxy to a place no human had ever seen before. Through the cracked window of his escape pod, he saw a planet below. It was beautiful. Purple clouds covered most of it. Green oceans sparkled under 3 different suns. It looked like something from a dream. But had no time to admire the view. His pod was falling fast. The heat shields were failing. He grabbed the controls and tried to slow down, but the machine barely responded. The landing was brutal. The pod hit the ground hard. Metal screamed and tore apart, was thrown against his seat. His head hit something solid. Then everything went black. When he woke up, he was not alone. Faces surrounded him, strange faces. They had silver skin that seemed to glow softly. Their eyes were large and completely black, like deep pools of ink. They were tall and thin, dressed in armor that looked like liquid metal. Tried to move, but his body hurt everywhere. He tasted blood in his mouth. "What?" he managed to say. The creatures spoke to each other in a language he did not understand. Their voices were like music, rising and falling in strange patterns. One of them pointed a weapon at him. It hummed with energy. "Wait," said, raising his hand slowly. "I am not your enemy. I am lost. I just want to go home." They did not understand him, or maybe they did not care. Strong hands grabbed him and pulled him to his feet. His legs almost gave out, but the guards held him up. They tied his hands behind his back with some kind of glowing rope that felt warm against his skin. Then they started walking. Looked around as they moved. The land was strange and beautiful. Trees with golden leaves grew everywhere. The grass was blue, soft under his feet. In the distance, he saw a massive structure. It looked like a palace made of crystal. It rose high into the sky, catching the light of the 3 suns and breaking it into 1,000 colors. That was where they were taking him. The walk took almost an hour. By the time they reached the palace gates, was exhausted. His head was still bleeding. His ribs hurt with every breath, but the guards did not slow down. Inside the palace, everything was even more beautiful. The walls were smooth and white. Strange plants grew in pots along the hallways. Creatures of all kinds walked past, stopping to stare at with wide eyes. Some of them whispered to each other. Others turned and ran away. Did not understand why they looked so scared. Finally, they reached a great hall. It was enormous. The ceiling was so high that could barely see it. At the far end of the room, there was a throne made of pure white stone, and on that throne sat a woman. She was different from the guards. Her silver skin was darker, almost gray. Her black eyes had small dots of light in them, like stars. She wore a dress made of something that looked like flowing water. On her head sat a crown of twisted metal and glowing gems. She was the most beautiful creature had ever seen. But it was not her beauty that made him stop breathing. It was her reaction. The moment she saw him, her face changed. Her dark silver skin began to fade. It turned lighter and lighter until it was completely white. Her starry eyes went wide. Her hands gripped the arms of her throne so hard that heard something crack. The entire hall went silent. Everyone was staring at him. Guards, servants, nobles, they all had the same expression on their faces. Fear, pure, absolute fear. Looked down at himself. He was covered in dirt and blood. His clothes were torn. He was just a tired, injured human who wanted to go home. What was so scary about that? "What is happening?" he asked. No one answered. The woman on the throne, the princess, he guessed, slowly stood up. Her legs seemed unsteady. She took one step forward, then stopped. Her white skin had not returned to normal. If anything, she looked even more pale. "It cannot be," she whispered. Was surprised. She spoke his language. How was that possible? "Your Highness," one of the guards said, kneeling quickly. "We found him in the crash site. His vessel fell from the sky. We thought he might be a spy from the outer territories, but—" "Silence," the princess commanded. The guard stopped talking immediately. The princess walked closer. Each step seemed to take great effort, as if she was fighting against her own body. The crowd parted before her, everyone pressing back against the walls. She stopped right in front of. She was taller than him by almost a head. Her black eyes searched his face, looking for something. He did not know what. "What are you?" she asked quietly. Blinked. "I am human. My name is I am from a planet called Earth. I got lost in—" "Human," she repeated. The word came out like a curse, like a prayer, like the name of something that should not exist. Behind her, someone screamed. An older creature collapsed to the floor, unconscious. Others started crying. Some fell to their knees. Looked around at the chaos. He had no idea what was happening. He was just a mechanic. He fixed engines. He was nobody. So why was everyone acting like they had seen a monster? The princess reached out with one trembling hand. Her fingers stopped just before touching his face. She pulled back quickly, as if afraid she might burn. "The legends were true," she whispered. "They were all true." "What legends?" asked desperately. "Please, I do not understand. What is going on?" The princess looked at him with her star-filled eyes. There was fear there, yes, but also something else, something like wonder, something like hope. "You are human," she said again. "The last time your kind walked among the stars, entire civilizations fell, empires burned, the galaxy itself trembled. Felt cold." "What?" The princess turned to her guards. "Take him to the secure chambers. Do not harm him, do not touch him more than necessary, and summon the council, immediately." As the guards grabbed him again, called out one last time. "Please, I am just a mechanic. I do not know what you are talking about." But the princess did not answer. She just stood there, white as snow, watching him being dragged away. And in the great hall, the whispers began. The humans had returned. The room they put him in was not a prison cell. At least it did not look like one. The walls were soft and curved. The floor was covered in something that felt like warm sand. In the corner, there was a bed that floated in the air without any support. Strange lights glowed from the ceiling, changing color slowly. But knew the truth. No matter how beautiful it looked, this room was still a cage. He sat on the floating bed and held his head in his hands. His injuries had been treated. A strange machine had scanned his body and fixed most of the damage. The bleeding had stopped. The pain in his ribs had faded, but the confusion in his mind only grew stronger. What had the princess meant? Why had everyone been so afraid? And what were these legends she had mentioned? Hours passed, or maybe days, could not tell. There were no windows, no clocks. The lights just kept slowly changing from blue to purple to pink and back again. Finally, the door opened. It was not the princess. Instead, a smaller creature walked in. She had the same silver skin, but hers was softer, younger looking. Her eyes were not completely black. They had rings of gold around the edges. She carried a stack of flat, glowing tablets. "Hello," she said carefully, as if testing the word. Stood up. "Hello, who are you?" "My name is," she said. The name sounded strange in her musical voice. "I am a scholar. I study old things, old books, old stories." Repeated, it was a Korean name. He did not expect to hear it in this place. "That is a name from my world." Nodded slowly. Yes, we know, there are many things from your world in our history, names, words, symbols. She paused. You really do not know, do you? Know what? Looked at him for a long moment. Then she sat down on the floor, crossing her legs beneath her. She patted the space next to her, inviting him to sit. Sat down. I will tell you a story, said. It is a very old story, the oldest story we have. My people call it the Great Terror, but some call it the Age of Fire, others call it the Human Era. Felt a chill run down his spine. Opened one of her tablets. Strange symbols glowed on its surface. She did not read from it, though. She spoke from memory. Long ago, before our civilization existed, the galaxy was ruled by an empire. This empire was vast beyond imagination. It covered millions of stars, billions of planets, trillions of beings served under its banner. What empire? Asked. The Empire of Terra, said. The Human Empire. Felt his mouth go dry. That is impossible, he said. Humans have never left their solar system. We only started exploring space a few hundred years ago. We have never built any empire. Looked at him with sad eyes. That is what you believe, but our records say something different. She continued her story. The humans were not like other species. They were small, weak. They lived short lives, but they had something no one else had. They called it will, others called it madness. The humans never stopped. They never surrendered. They never accepted defeat. Listened in silence. When the humans first left there, they found a galaxy full of older, stronger species. These species laughed at the small creatures from Terra. They thought humans would be easy to control, easy to destroy. Shook her head slowly. They were wrong. The humans fought. At first they lost badly. Entire human colonies were wiped out. Millions died, but the humans did not give up. They learned, they adapted, they became something new. Something new? Asked. Something terrible, whispered. The humans learned that kindness was weakness. They learned that mercy was death, so they stopped being kind. They stopped showing mercy. They became the greatest warriors the galaxy had ever seen. Shook his head. No, that cannot be true. Humans are not like that. Your humans are not like that, corrected gently. The humans of the old empire were different. They had been changed by centuries of war. They were hard, cold, unstoppable. She swiped her tablet and an image appeared. It showed a burning city. Strange creatures ran through the streets screaming, and in the middle of the fire stood figures in dark armor. Humans. The human empire lasted for 10,000 years, said. During that time they conquered everything. Every species that opposed them was crushed. Every rebellion was ended with fire. The galaxy lived in fear. Stared at the image. He could not believe it. He did not want to believe it. Then what happened? He asked quietly. Where did they go? Closed the tablet. We do not know. One day the humans were everywhere. The next day they were gone. Their ships disappeared. Their soldiers vanished. Even there went silent. Earth went silent. Yes, for 10,000 years no one could find it. No one could reach it. It was as if the entire planet had been hidden from the universe. Thought about this. Earth had been isolated for 10,000 years, but humanity had only been exploring space for a few centuries. That meant someone hid us, he realized. Someone made us forget. Nodded. That is what our scholars believe. Someone or something reset your species, made you start over, made you forget what you were. But why? We do not know. Perhaps it was punishment, perhaps it was protection, perhaps it was something else entirely. Leaned forward. But there is a prophecy. Of course there was a prophecy. Almost laughed. Every strange adventure had a prophecy. The prophecy says that one day the humans will return, continued. When they do, the galaxy will face a choice. Either the humans will save us from a great darkness, or they will become that darkness themselves. And everyone thinks I am this prophecy, asked. You are the first human seen in 10,000 years, said. You fell from the sky in a ship of unknown design. You landed on the sacred planet, and you appeared just as the darkness is approaching. The darkness looked toward the door as if checking that no one was listening. There is a fleet coming, a terrible fleet from the dead regions of space. They have destroyed 3 of our outer colonies already. We do not know who they are or what they want. We only know they cannot be stopped. She turned back to, Some believe you are here to save us. Others believe you are here to finish what the darkness started. She paused. The princess does not know what to believe. That is why she is afraid. Stood up and walked to the wall. He pressed his hand against the smooth surface. I am just a mechanic, he said for what felt like the 100th time. I fix engines. I am nobody special. Perhaps, said, standing up as well. Or perhaps you have forgotten what you are, just like your entire species forgot what they were. She walked toward the door. The princess wants to speak with you tomorrow. The council is meeting to decide what to do with you. Some want to kill you before you become a threat. Others want to worship you as a savior. She stopped at the door and looked back. I just want to understand you. That is why I came today. I wanted to see if the old stories were true, if humans were really as terrifying as the legends say. And asked, Am I terrifying? Smiled, but there was no humor in it, only sadness. You seem kind, she said. You seem gentle. You seem lost and scared, just like anyone would be in your situation. She opened the door. That is exactly what makes you terrifying, because according to our histories, that is exactly how the humans seemed before they burned the galaxy. The door closed behind her. Was alone again, with nothing but his thoughts and 10,000 years of bloody history he never knew existed. The next morning, 2 guards came to escort to the throne room. They walked 3 steps behind him, their weapons ready, their silver faces nervous. Noticed how they flinched every time he made a sudden movement. He tried to move slowly. He did not want to scare anyone. The throne room was different today. Yesterday it had been full of nobles and servants. Today it was almost empty. Only the princess sat on her throne, and beside her stood with her glowing tablets. The princess looked better than yesterday. Her skin had returned to its dark silver color. Her starry eyes were calm, but could see tension in the way she held her shoulders, in the tight grip of her fingers on the armrests. Leave us, she told the guards. They hesitated. I said leave us, she repeated, her voice sharp. The guards bowed and retreated, closing the massive doors behind them. The sound echoed through the empty hall. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then the princess stood up and walked down the steps from her throne. She stopped a few feet away from and studied his face. My name is Lyra, she said. I am the crown princess of and the high keeper of the sacred flame. Yesterday I was rude to you. I let my fear control me. For that, I apologize. Blinked, he had not expected an apology. It is okay, he said. I understand you were surprised. Surprised, Lyra almost smiled. That is a gentle way to put it. I was terrified. I thought the end of the world had come walking into my throne room. I am really not that scary, said. No, Lyra agreed. You are not. That is what confuses me. She gestured to show him. Stepped forward and activated one of her tablets. A hologram appeared in the air between them. It showed a planet, a blue and green world covered in white clouds. Earth whispered. Yes, said. You're the birthplace of the human species, the center of the old empire. She swiped the tablet, and the image changed. Now it showed Earth surrounded by a strange barrier. The barrier was invisible except for faint lines of light that crisscrossed the planet like a net. This is what we found when we searched for your world after the humans disappeared, explained. A barrier of unknown technology. Nothing could get through. No signals, no ships, no probes. Earth was completely sealed off from the rest of the universe. Who built it? Asked. We do not know. Some believe the humans built it themselves, to hide from enemies they had made. Others believe an ancient race sealed them away as punishment for their crimes. Lyra spoke up. What we do know is that this barrier did more than just hide Earth. It also blocked all outside signals from reaching your world. Your people could not see the stars properly. They could not detect the signs of life on other planets. They thought they were alone. Felt dizzy. His whole life, humanity had searched for proof that they were not alone in the universe. They had built telescopes and sent probes into deep space. They had listened for radio signals from alien civilizations. And all along, the universe had been right there, just hidden from view. That is why we never found anyone, he said slowly. The barrier blocked everything. Yes, said, but 3 months ago something changed. We detected a breach in the barrier, a small hole, just big enough for one ship to pass through. My ship realized, when the wormhole malfunctioned. You were thrown through the breach, finished. The first human to leave Earth in 10,000 years. Lyra walked closer. That is why the Council is afraid. If you could get through the barrier, others might follow. Your people might remember what they were. And if that happens... She did not finish the sentence. She did not need to. I told you already, said firmly. Humans are not like that anymore. We do not want to conquer anyone. We just want to explore, to learn, to meet new friends. Friends, Lyra repeated the word as if testing it. The old humans did not have friends. They had subjects and enemies, nothing else. We are different now. Are you? Lyra looked into his eyes. Let me ask you something, the mechanic. If someone attacked your home, what would you do? I would fight to protect it. And if they killed the people you loved? Felt anger rise in his chest. I would make them pay. And if they destroyed everything you ever cared about? If they burned your cities and poisoned your lands and left nothing but ash and death behind? His hands clenched into fists, his jaw tightened. For a moment, something dark flashed in his eyes. I would hunt them down, he said quietly. I would not stop until every single one of them was gone. Lyra stepped back. Her silver skin had gone slightly pale again. There, she whispered. Do you see now? It is still inside you, the fire, the rage, the human will that never accepts defeat. Looked at his hands, they were shaking. That does not mean I am a monster, he said. No, Lyra agreed. It means you are human, and that is exactly what frightens us. Stepped between them, breaking the tension. There is more we need to tell you, about the darkness that is coming. She swiped her tablet again. The hologram changed to show a star map. Red dots were spreading across it like a disease. These are the systems that have gone silent in the last year, said. One by one, they stop responding. When we send scouts to investigate, they find nothing. No survivors, no bodies, no ruins, just empty planets where civilizations used to exist. What is doing this? Asked. We do not know. We call them the Hollow because they leave nothing behind. They move through space like ghosts. No one has ever seen their ships. No one has ever survived an attack. She pointed to a spot on the map near. They will reach us in 7 days. Looked at Lyra. That is why you are afraid, not just because of me, because of them. Lyra nodded slowly. The Hollow have destroyed civilizations far more advanced than ours. We have no way to stop them. Our fleet is too small. Our weapons are too weak. She paused. And then you appeared, a human, just as the old prophecy said. You think I can stop them? I do not know what to think anymore. Lyra walked back to her throne, but did not sit down. Half of my council wants to execute you before you can become a threat. The other half wants to use you as a weapon against the Hollow. And what do you want? Lyra looked at him for a long time before answering. I want to understand you, she said. I want to know if the legends are wrong, if your kind has truly changed, if there is a chance, any chance at all, that you could help us without destroying us. thought about everything he had learned, about the old empire, about Earth being hidden, about the darkness coming to consume this world. He was just a mechanic. He had no special powers. He had no army. He was alone in a universe that feared his very existence. But he was also human, and according to the histories, that meant something. "I do not know if I can stop the Hollow," he said honestly. "I do not know if I have any of the power the old humans had, but I do know one thing." "What?" Looked up at the princess with steady eyes. "I am not going to run away. I am not going to give up. If something is coming to destroy this planet, then I will fight it, not because of prophecy, not because of legend, but because it is the right thing to do." For the first time since he had arrived, Princess Lyra smiled. It was small and uncertain, but it was real. "Perhaps," she said softly, "that is what makes humans truly terrifying. Not their rage, not their fire, but their stubborn refusal to accept that some battles cannot be won." She extended her hand toward him. "Welcome to of Earth. Let us see if we can prove the old legends wrong together." Took her hand. Her silver skin was cool against his palm. "Let us try," he said. Outside the palace, the three suns were beginning to set, and somewhere in the darkness of space, the Hollow were getting closer. 6 days passed quickly, spent most of that time learning about. He walked through the Crystal Palace listening to her explain the history of her people. He studied their technology, which was more advanced than anything on Earth but still had weaknesses. He watched their soldiers train and noticed how different they were from human fighters. The soldiers were graceful, beautiful. Their movements flowed like water, smooth and precise, but something was missing, something could not name at first. On the 5th day, he understood. They had no desperation, no fire. They trained like they were performing a dance, not preparing for war. "Your soldiers are very skilled," told Lyra during dinner that evening. They were eating in a small room away from the court, just the two of them plus. "Thank you," Lyra said, but she heard the hesitation in his voice. But they do not know how to lose." Lyra frowned. "That seems like a good thing." "It is not." Put down his eating tools. "Your soldiers train to win. They practice perfect techniques, perfect forms. But what happens when the technique fails? What happens when the form breaks?" "They adjust, they adapt." "No, they panic," shook his head. "I have watched them. When something goes wrong in training, they freeze. They do not know what to do because they have never failed before." Leaned forward. "And humans are different." "Humans expect to fail," said. "We plan for it. We train for the worst possible moment when everything goes wrong and we have nothing left but our will to survive. That is when humans are most dangerous, when we have already lost everything." The room went quiet. On the morning of the 7th day, the alarm started. Was in the training yard, teaching some of the younger soldiers how to fight dirty. Eye gouging, throat strikes, knee breaks. The kind of ugly, desperate techniques that had no place in their graceful combat forms. When the alarm sounded, everyone stopped. "They are here," said, running up to him. Her silver face was pale. "The Hollow, they appeared from nowhere. Our outer defenses are already gone." Ran. The command center was deep inside the palace, a room full of glowing screens and hovering maps. Lyra was already there, surrounded by her generals. They were all talking at once, their voices high and panicked. On the main screen, saw them for the first time. The Hollow. Their ships were black, completely black, absorbing all light. They moved through space like shadows, leaving trails of darkness behind them. There were hundreds of them, maybe thousands. And they were fast, so impossibly fast. "They destroyed our orbital platforms in minutes," one general reported, his hands shaking. "Our fleet cannot engage. Their weapons, we have never seen anything like them. Our shields do nothing." "What about ground defenses?" Lyra asked. "Preparing to fire, but," the general's voice broke, "Your Highness, there are too many of them." On the screen, one of the black ships opened fire. A beam of pure darkness shot down toward the planet. Where it touched, everything vanished. Buildings, trees, ground, gone, not destroyed, erased as if they had never existed. People started screaming. "We have to evacuate," another general said. "We cannot win this fight. We must save who we can." "Evacuate to where?" someone shouted. "They will follow us anywhere we go." The room descended into chaos. Everyone was yelling. Everyone was afraid. The screens showed more and more of the dark ships appearing, surrounding the planet like a noose. Lyra stood frozen. Her starry eyes were wide, fixed on the destruction unfolding before her. For the first time, she looked lost. Pushed his way to the front of the room. "Everyone be quiet," he shouted. His voice was not loud, but something in it made everyone stop. Maybe it was the tone. Maybe it was the look in his eyes. Or maybe it was simply the fact that he was human, and even now, 10,000 years after the Empire fell, that word still carried power. The room went silent. "How long until they reach the city?" asked. A technician checked her screen. 30 minutes, maybe less. "Is there anything on this planet that can hurt them?" The generals looked at each other. One of them spoke up. "We have the sacred flame, an ancient weapon from the old wars. It has never been used because we did not know how." "Show me." They brought up images on the screen. Deep beneath the palace there was a machine. It was old, older than their civilization, older than their memory. A relic from the time when humans had ruled the galaxy. A human weapon. "It requires activation," explained quickly. "But the language on the controls, we cannot read it. We have tried for centuries." Looked at the symbols on the screen. They were old, faded, but he recognized them. English, ancient English, twisted and changed over 10,000 years, but still readable. "I can read it," he said. Hope flickered in Lyra's eyes. "Can you make it work?" "I do not know, but I am going to try." He turned to the generals. "I need you to buy me time. Everything you have, send it at them, not to win, just to slow them down." "We will die," one of the generals said quietly. "Probably," agreed. "But you will die fighting, and maybe, just maybe, you will give me enough time to save everyone else." The general looked at him for a long moment. Then he nodded and started giving orders. Ran. The path to the sacred flame was long and dark. Ran beside him, guiding him through passages that had not been opened in thousands of years. The air was thick with dust. The walls were covered in symbols he could barely read. Finally, they reached it. The machine was massive. It filled an entire cavern, its metal surface covered in lights that had long gone dark. At its center was a console, dusty and forgotten. Approached it and wiped away the grime. Words appeared beneath his hand. Terran Defense Grid, Planetary Shield Generator. Status offline. Authorization required. It is a shield, breathed, not a weapon, a shield. He started working on the controls. The language was hard to read, words had changed, letters had shifted, but the basics were the same. He found the power systems, found the activation sequence, found the problem. "It needs a genetic key," he said. "Human DNA, that is why they could never turn it on." He pressed his palm against the console. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the machine roared to life. Light exploded through the cavern. The ground shook. Above them, something massive began to move, rising from the depths of the earth. On the surface, the battle was going badly. The fleet was in ruins. The ground defenses were overwhelmed. The black ships were descending on the city, their weapons charging for the final strike. Then the sky turned gold. A shield of pure light erupted from the ground, spreading upward and outward until it covered the entire planet. The first dark beam hit the shield and stopped dead. The hollow ships fired again and again, but the golden light held. In the command center, Lyra watched with tears streaming down her silver face. "He did it," she whispered. "He actually did it." The hollow ships circled the planet, searching for weaknesses, finding none. One by one, they began to retreat, pulling back into the darkness of space. They were not defeated. They would return. Everyone knew that. But today survived. In the cavern beneath the palace, collapsed against the ancient machine, his body was exhausted, his mind was spinning, but he was smiling. The old humans had left something behind, not just weapons of destruction, but tools of protection. And somehow, after 10,000 years, the universe had sent one of their descendants back to find them. Maybe this was not about prophecy or legend. Maybe this was about redemption. Helped him to his feet. "You saved us," she said, her voice full of wonder. "I just turned on a machine," replied. "Your people did the rest." But they both knew the truth. Something had changed today, not just but for the entire galaxy. The humans were back. And this time, they were not here to conquer. 3 weeks passed after the battle. The golden shield still covered, humming softly with ancient power. The hollow had not returned, but their black ships waited at the edge of the system, watching, waiting. The war was not over. It had barely begun. But for now there was peace. Stood on the highest balcony of the Crystal Palace, watching the 3 suns rise. The sky turned pink, then orange, then a brilliant gold that matched the shield above. It was beautiful. Even after weeks of seeing it, the view still took his breath away. Footsteps behind him, light and graceful. "You are awake early," Lyra said, joining him at the railing. "Could not sleep." "Bad dreams." Shook his head. "Good dreams, that is the problem. I keep dreaming about home, about Earth, about the people I left behind." Lyra stood beside him in silence for a moment. Her silver skin glowed softly in the morning light. The fear that had filled her eyes when they first met was gone now, replaced by something warmer. "We have been searching the old archives," she said, "looking for information about Earth, about how to reopen the barrier safely. And we found something, a map. It shows the location of an old human outpost far from here. If the outpost still exists, it might have the technology to contact your world." Felt his heart beat faster. "You would help me go home." "Of course," Lyra smiled. "You saved my planet, my people. The least I can do is help you find your way back." She paused and looked out at the horizon. "But I hope you will come back to visit. Could use a friend like you." Thought about the past weeks. He had spent them not as a prisoner or a legend, but as a teacher. He had shown the soldiers how to fight dirty, how to think creatively, how to never give up, even when all hope seemed lost. At first, they had been confused by his methods. Their graceful combat forms had no room for desperation. But slowly, they began to understand. A few of them had even started to show that fire in their eyes, that stubborn human refusal to accept defeat. They were learning. "I will come back," promised. "There is still a war to fight, and I do not leave friends behind." A loud noise interrupted them. The door to the balcony burst open and rushed out, her tablets clutched to her chest. "You need to see this," she said breathlessly. "Both of you now." They followed her to the command center. It was full of activity, technicians rushing around, screens flashing with data, voices talking over each other. But one screen dominated the room, larger than the others. It showed a ship. Not a black ship of the hollow, not a silver ship of something different. It was small, battered, its hull was scorched and torn, but the symbol on its side was unmistakable. A blue circle with green land and white clouds. "Earth." "It came through the breach," explained, her voice shaking with excitement. "Same path you took. It is damaged, but it is definitely human." Stared at the screen, his heart pounding. He was not alone anymore. "Open communications," Lyra commanded. The screen flickered. Static filled the air. Then a voice came through, scratchy and broken but clearly human. "This is Captain of the ESV Pioneer. We are responding to an unknown signal from this region. Our ship is damaged. We request permission to land." Grabbed the communication device from the nearest technician. "Captain, I am a human. I crash-landed here 3 weeks ago. You are cleared to land. Welcome to." There was a long pause on the other end. "We thought you were dead. Your ship disappeared from all tracking systems months ago." Another pause. "Wait, did you say you have been there for 3 weeks, and you are still alive?" Laughed. It was the first real laugh he had made since arriving on this strange planet. "It is a long story," he said. "Land first, I will explain everything." The ship descended through the golden shield, which parted briefly to let it pass. It landed in the palace courtyard, steam rising from its damaged engines. A crowd had gathered, of all ages, pressing against the barriers to see. The door opened. Captain stepped out first. She was a small woman with short black hair and tired eyes. Behind her came 3 others, a tall man with a scar on his cheek, a young woman with glasses, and an older man with gray hair. Looked around at the crystal towers, the silver-skinned aliens, the golden sky. Her mouth fell open. "What the hell is this place?" she whispered. Stepped forward. "Welcome to the galaxy, Captain. Turns out we are not alone, never were." The explanation took hours. They sat in the great hall, humans and together, while and told the story. The old empire, the barrier, the 10,000 years of hiding, the prophecy, the hollow, everything. When they finished, Captain sat in stunned silence. "So let me get this straight," she said slowly. "Humans used to rule the galaxy. We were so terrifying that everyone still fears us thousands of years later. Earth was sealed off to make us forget. And now we are in the middle of a war against some kind of dark force that erases worlds." "That covers most of it," said. "And you, a mechanic from Seoul, activated an ancient defense grid and saved an entire planet." "I had help." Shook her head. "This is insane." "Yes," Lyra said, speaking for the first time since the explanation began. "It is also true." She stood and walked toward the humans. Her silver skin caught the light of the setting suns, making her glow like a star. "For 10,000 years, the galaxy has lived in fear of your kind," she said. "We told stories of human cruelty, human rage, human destruction. We built monuments to the fallen and swore to never forget the horrors your ancestors inflicted." She stopped in front of. "But in 3 weeks, one human has shown me more courage, kindness, and hope than I thought your species capable of. He fought for people who feared him. He risked his life for strangers. He taught my soldiers how to be brave." She turned to the other humans. "I do not know what your kind will become now that the barrier is broken. I do not know if the old darkness still lives inside you. But I do know this: if all humans are like, then perhaps the legends were wrong. Perhaps your greatest strength was never your rage." She smiled, a real smile, warm and bright. "Perhaps it was your stubborn refusal to give up on others, even when they gave up on themselves." The great hall was silent, and humans looked at each other across thousands of years of history, across a gulf of fear and legend. Then Captain stood up and extended her hand. "I do not know about saving galaxies or living up to ancient legends," she said, "but I do know we are here now, and we are willing to help." Lyra took her hand. "Then welcome, humans. Welcome back to the stars." Outside, the 3 suns finally set. The golden shield glowed softly overhead, protecting the planet from the darkness beyond, and somewhere in the void, the hollow waited. But they would have to wait longer, because the humans had returned, not as conquerors, not as destroyers. As friends. And that, realized, was more powerful than any weapon the old empire ever built. He watched Lyra and talk, 2 women from different worlds, finding common ground. He watched show the other humans her tablets, explaining history. He watched his people and her people come together. This was a new beginning. The old legends said humans would bring salvation or destruction, but legends were just stories, and stories could be rewritten. Of Earth, the mechanic who had fallen from the sky looked up at the stars. "Time to write a new legend," he whispered. And somewhere out there, the universe was listening,